Finally happened. I almost had to take a video client to small claims for the first time. Let's dive into that. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a nightmare client story. I've never had anything like this. I've never actually taken anybody to small claims. It seems like most of the time when you threaten a client with small claims, they get scared and pay you. I think one other time, when I was in Miami, there was a situation like that, but same thing, the second that you bring up small claims or the legal system or whatever, as long as you are justified in what you're doing, they get kind of scared and pay up typically. Just make sure you're getting everything in writing. But I'll tell you this story because and mind you, this video would have gone a lot different had they not paid me, because I would have just named them. I was fully prepared to do that, but I won't name them. And I'll use anecdotes. I was contacted by an agency through Instagram for a last minute shoot. And I typically, that is an immediate red flag to me. I would not take somebody hitting me up through Instagram, hitting me up last minute. They hit me up 1 o'clock and the shoot was at 6 o'clock. I figured, hey, maybe their video person dropped off or something. But either way, it would have been a total red flag. This whole scenario would have just been a total red flag. Okay, but the reason that I put up with it was because it was for a really large brand that I wanted to be affiliated with and do some work for through an agency, right? So there's the middleman agency. So I get hit up and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll deal with your BS because this is for a very, very large company that I would like to have a connection with. I can't name the brand, but it was a very well-known large brand. And you've probably heard of that very, very large brand. I'm like, okay, I'll put up with all their BS. And they name a rate that was a super low ball thing. And I was like, okay, I'm not putting up with this much disrespect. And also, they wanted a 24-hour rush. I guess I'll just name the rates. They hit me up. They wanted me to go shoot something last minute. It was supposed to be a really short shoot, to be fair. It was 2 hours, but they wanted me to do a 24-hour rush. I think they hit me up for $650 or $700, something like that. And I was thinking oh, that's just for shooting. No, they wanted an edit too. And I was like, that's a little tight, but I don't want to do that. Also, I had to, a personal life circumstance, I had to that following Sunday. So this is taking place on a Friday. They want the rush edit by Saturday. I had to fly on Sunday. So I was concerned, I'm not gonna have time for any revisions or anything because I'm going to a national park and I may not have signal on Sunday. So I was like, okay, this is all really tight for me. You guys are lowballing me and I'm just not really interested. They're like, oh, okay, we can give you your rate. And also, we need you to do this. And it just kept pressuring me. And I was like, by the way, I had also Googled this production agency. And I had been okay. So they were a legit entity, right? And the large brand that they're contracted for is they wouldn't have been hired by this massive brand if they weren't somewhat legit. Anyways, I'm okay, I could just put up with their stuff. I go and I shoot it and everything's fine, and I go out there and shoot it last minute, and I'm like, okay, it was a quick thing. I get home, I do the 24-hour rush, and then don't hear anything from them. They just vanish. And I'm like, that's a little weird. I've never had somebody ask me for a 24-hour rush on something, or even any rush on something, and then just completely disappear. Just kind of figured they would get back to me, and then Sunday came along, and I was like, well, they didn't tell me anything, so I'm gonna leave now. And then I went on my trip, and I came back, and nothing, just crickets. By the way, mind you, between the Saturday when I sent the video to the Wednesday when I got in contact with them again, I emailed them and I texted them multiple times. And I was like, hey, so it's not it wasn't lack of communication on my part, at all. There was a photographer on that shoot with me, and I had to find them. I didn't even know their name. I kind of remembered their name a little bit, but I didn't know how I would find them. But I eventually got lucky and I found them on Instagram somehow. I swear to you, I don't even know how I found them because they didn't have a super common name or anything, but I found them. And I was like, hey, do you happen to have like the contact information of these people? Because my only communication was through Instagram and like text messages. So I didn't have anybody else to talk to, and they just disappeared on me. It was like the weirdest thing. I'm trying to keep things professional too, by the way, this whole time. Like, I threading lightly as to whether I want to paste some of the messages, but very cordial, very demure. So then, yeah, they just completely ghosted until like that Wednesday. I hit up the photographer and I get the contact information from the photographer because they were talking to different people within the organization. So they had different contact information. I make a giant email thread. I'm like, okay, like I've not been replied to for like, I think at this point, like this was further from Wednesday. Like this was probably like a week or two after this whole debacle. It looked the weirdest thing ever. Oh, so eventually they reply to me and they're like, cause the rate that we had settled on was like $1,000. Okay. Which again, this was all like really low for everything they were asking. But at the same time, I was like, I want to work with this really large brand. So I was willing to put up with a little bit of nonsense to work with the large brand over here. So just mind you, they hit me up and they're like, oh, there's no room in the budget. There's no room in the budget. We can only do 900 or something. And then that really triggered me. I was like, no, you said yes to what we were doing. This is ridiculous. So I took all of the contact information the photographer had given me of everybody at the organization, and I made a giant email thread with all the text messages and all of my communication with them. And I was like, hey, this and this and this happened, and I will not be disrespected. Basically, all very professional, all very demure. Ignore that, or they're like, oh, I have to review this or something like that. They continued to ignore me, and they continued to ignore me. And now the net 30 had been up. Like typically you work on a net 30 with agencies because it's an industry standard thing. But net 30 is essentially that you don't get paid for 30 days because they need to process your contractors or whatever. It's kind of BS. But anyways, I'm like, hey, the net 30's up and I have enough evidence to take y'all to small claims court. Like, I will do that, and I will not, this has been like extremely unprofessional. Y'all have disrespected me. Like, this is just flat out, like just full on disrespect. All of my messages were very professional, very nice. Like, I was not being mean at all, but I got sick of it and I was like, hey, it's been net 30. You either have to pay me on Friday or I'm gonna go to small claims. That got them to pay up. That really got the ball rolling. Like they were like, but they didn't even like apologize. It was like the weirdest horror agency experience that I've ever had. Yeah, just honestly lately, like just working with agencies as a whole has been pretty awful. There's some good ones, okay, so don't take this one anecdotal story for the overwhelming amount of agencies that are out there, but this was like such a nightmare story. It's funny because right as I'm dealing with this nightmare over here, I have like the most wonderful like B2B client that I'm like dealing with and just going direct to them, and it's like a small business that I'm working with, and it's just been wonderful, and they're great, and they're just like working with me, and they're coming up with ideas and just being, and I'm just like, man, like these agencies just, they don't care and they treat you like you are just like a crumb, and they're getting these huge contracts with these companies, but they, in my opinion, don't even like deserve it because they're just awful.